webinar is about advanced Bluebeam review techniques for AEC professionals. Today we're going to be covering a whole host of topics. We'll be doing a quick overview of Bluebeam Revu, just a quick sort of 30-second tour through the interface. If you're not familiar with how Bluebeam works, it's a lot different, obviously, from Acrobat or any other PDF application out there. We'll be looking at leveraging the tool chest and markups list. Those are two core features of Bluebeam that basically get you access to, the rest of the kingdom there. We'll be creating and using some 3D PDFs. 3D PDF creation is really kind of a new, neat thing in Bluebeam, and it's really effective. So we'll show you how to do that. We'll talk about hyperlinking and backlinking of sheets, so that when you create your set of deliverables, all of the detail callouts and elevation callouts and things link to the view that they're supposed to be going to, and to the sheet. We'll also be talking about comparing sheets together and overlaying sheets to find out what's different between, say, two revisions. When you're looking at a 30 by 42 drawing and trying to figure out exactly what's different, it's obviously it's pretty difficult to do, and you're probably going to miss something. Well, what Bluebeam has is the ability to overlay those two things together and color code them so you can see exactly what's different between them. Then we're going to be looking at takeoff and estimation workflows using the markups list, using the quantification tools that we have in Bluebeam, using the very easy to use measuring tools that we have. And along with that, we'll be doing takeoff and punch list reporting using Legends, which is a new feature in 2016, where we can report out very easily on the sheet, how many plumbing fixtures we have, and so on and so forth. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at collaboration and document management with Bluebeam Studio, which is a feature in every release of Bluebeam, and we'll be going over how you can get your documents online and collaborate seamlessly across the cloud. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick overview of Bluebeam Revu, and the first question is, what is Bluebeam Revu? It's a very smart, very simple PDF solution for working professionals that allows you to easily create, edit, markup, and collaborate using PDFs. Okay, that's what it does. And why do we choose PDF as a format? I think that this has been one of those things that in the past has been a point of contention. We had DWF for a while that was pretty hot and heavy, pushed by Autodesk, but the industry has said no, and we're going back to PDF. And the nice thing about PDF is that it's an ISO open format, which means that nobody owns it. While it was created by Adobe, Adobe doesn't own it anymore, which is probably why the Acrobat series of applications is sort of, it went to a certain point and then kind of stopped in its development, as far as I can tell anyway. The nice thing about PDF is it's self-contained. It includes all the text, graphics, and formatting that you need. Like I said, no one owns the PDF format. It has no proprietary elements, meaning that folks like Bluebeam can come along and just max out the feature list as much as they possibly can using the PDF as the backbone, and not have to worry about stepping on anybody else's toes. And it supports both vector and bitmap graphics really, really well. So anything you put in from your design applications can all come together in one seamless format. And what's nice about Bluebeam Revu is it supports the digital collaboration process across the life of all of your AEC projects, from design reviews through bidding and RFIs, through procurement and construction management, through punch listing and back checking, through final project closeout, and on to facilities management. PDF underlies a lot of that data, and Bluebeam has the tools you need to be able to look into that data and pull things out, pull information out intelligently, so that you can communicate very easily across your project teams. So what do we have in Bluebeam Revu? We have a couple of purpose-built features specifically for AEC. First of all, we have a very intuitive, very consistent interface. Once you get the hang of where things are and how things work, it becomes very easy and pleasurable to work in Bluebeam. We have industry standard markups. Again, this is part of the underlying PDF technology, but Bluebeam has taken it to the point where we can embed a lot of data into those markups and then use those markups for quantity takeoff and punch listing and legends and all kinds of neat stuff. What helps make that happen is the exclusive tool chest in Bluebeam, where you can create a tool on the fly as you make it, and you can have it stored in your tool chest. You can group tools together. You can easily back up and download and share tool chests and tool sets with other people. Makes it very easy to take an entire organization and give them a set of tools that they need from the get-go to be able to do the purpose-built things that they need to do, like shop drawing review and punch listing and those kinds of things. The markups list works hand in hand with the markups, which records all the information about the markups that you put into the file, and those markups can be queried and reported out in several different ways. And then finally, we have Bluebeam Studio, which is Bluebeam's online collaborative space for AEC professionals, especially, where you can work in real time, basically, with other people working on the same PDFs and have your project files hosted in the cloud. Okay, so there are three main Bluebeam editions that most people are going to be familiar with if they get Bluebeam. There's Revu Standard, Revu CAD, and Revu Extreme. I'm on Revu Extreme, so I have all the bells and whistles and goodies. But there are some differences between them. Basically, Revu CAD is everything that's in Revu Standard, along with specific add-ons for AutoCAD, Revit, SolidWorks, Navisworks, SketchUp, that allow you to generate PDFs, 2D and 3D PDFs from Revit, for example, as well as Navisworks and SketchUp. Bluebeam Revu Extreme adds on to what's in Revu CAD with enhanced optical character recognition, PDF form creation, scripting, redaction, which is very important in the legal industry, batch linking, and batch slip sheeting. So a lot of these more advanced features are in the Revu and Revu CAD and Revu Extreme versions. There also is a Revu Mac edition out there. You can see what features are available in it, and there is also a Revu version for the iPad as well. Okay. All right, so let's look at Bluebeam really quickly. Let's just jump into it real quick. And this is what Bluebeam looks like. It's basically split up into panels on the left and right and bottom side, and you can go ahead and expand these out pretty quickly using these little blue markers right here. The left-hand side has a series of tabs across the top, and so does the right-hand panel. The bottom panel here is our markups list, and one of the nice things about this is that one of the tabs that you have here is our file access, which has all the latest and greatest files that you've worked on, and so it's very easy to just pop into one and fire it up, and you have it right here. And you can get into different PDFs and things like that as you want to work on them. Very easy, so it's nice to have the latest and greatest ones that you have at your fingertips. We have a command panel or a command bar up here, which has new, open, save, print, email, the standard kind of file access things that you always have. But over on the right-hand side here, we have sort of tab-specific tools here. So under the File tab, we have Create, Batch, Export, so on, Edit, View tools, Document tools, things like adding and rotating pages, Form creation tools. Again, this is in Extreme. Our markup tools here, measuring tools, which are going to be very important, and some basic window operations here, which are also available down here at the bottom of the screen. We also have a series of toolbars as well for doing typical markup things like drawing clouds and boxes and things like that. On the right-hand side, we have our Properties palette, or our Properties tab right here, which is with nothing selected, nothing going on. It's showing the properties of the file that we're in. We have a Search tab right here, our Markups tab right here, our 3D model tree right here for working with 3D PDFs, and our Bluebeam Studio tab right here for working in Bluebeam Studio. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. On the left-hand side, we have our, like I said, we have our file access, our recent files list right here. We have a series of our bookmarks here. We also have our thumbnails right here. And right here is our tool chest, which we'll talk about in great detail in a little bit. We also have sets, we have layers, and then we have our links tab right here. And along with all of this, we have a very intuitive kind of right-click mentality with everything. If you're not sure where something is, just right-click and you'll probably see a drop-down or a pop-up list that has something. So here are some additional tabs that we can enable on this side. We can also enable them over here on the right side as well. So our navigating around a PDF, obviously, just pretty simple. It's middle mouse button to pan, zoom in with the mouse wheel, the same kind of thing everyone's pretty much used to. We have some navigation controls down here so we can go between different documents or different pages in my same document. I also have over here the ability to bring up additional different profiles, and different profiles will change the interface based upon a specific kind of industry that you're in, or the way that you want to work. And you can create your own profile and basically customize everything as you need to. Okay. All right. So that's essentially Bluebeam in a kind of a nutshell here. So let's get back to here. All right. So let's look at leveraging the tool chest and how this can work for us. So what is the tool chest? Basically, like I said, it was a tab, and it's split up into smaller tool sets here. And it's a really powerful feature that makes the process of creating your markups very easy. It allows you to store all your markup designs in one place. As you create new markups, you can easily add them to the tool chest. You can move them around the tool chest, and you can assign properties to them, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of features about it that make it really invaluable for for the AEC industry that need to mark up documents using a standard notation, maybe a company standard notation, or something like that. So it's very important to be able to have these tools right there, and having this wealth of information right there at your fingertips is pretty invaluable. Like I said, the tool chest is organized into tool sets. Each tool set contains markup tools, and there are two important tool sets to consider. The first one is My Tools, which is at the very top, and that's a permanent tool set for markups that you use frequently. So, if you're going to use a tool very often, move it into your My Tool set so that you have it to use. You also see that each of the tools here has a little number next to it, and those are hotkeys. Those hotkeys are automatically assigned as you add a new tool to the tool set, to the My Tool set. So all you have to do is hit number 1 to get a yellow highlighter, number 2 to get a pen, and so on and so forth. The recent tools tool set, which is right underneath of it, is probably the most important one, because as you add a tool, or as you add a markup to the PDF, that markup becomes a tool in this recent tools tool set. So as you go through your session and you're adding new things from different toolbars and things like that, those things automatically get populated in the recent tools tool set. And then if you want to keep that, if you say, hey, I really like this cloud design or whatever it is that you come up with, you can go ahead and move that to a more permanent tool set. Because what happens is, as your session ends and you start another session of Bluebeam Revu up the next day, everything that was in the recent tools tool set goes away. So it's important to understand that if you want any of those tools to stick around for anything longer than a day, that you want to get those into a permanent tool set. Creating a new tool set is very easy. All you really have to do is hit the Manage Tool Set button in the tool chest toolbar, which is that little blue gear. The little blue gear is pretty much standard across the Bluebeam interface. If you need to add a new tool set or work with different markup columns or things like that, go to the little blue gear. It will probably take you to the place that you need to go. So in the Manage Tool Sets dialog, you can create new tool sets. You can import them, export them, rearrange them, delete them as much as you need to, clean up your interfaces, whatever you want to. And what's nice about this, too, is that Bluebeam itself, on their support website, has a whole host of AEC-specific tool sets that you can download and bring right into Bluebeam really quickly. So when you're creating a tool, or creating a markup from a tool, you're going to be using one of two modes. You're going to be using the Properties mode or the Drawing mode. And those are controlled with this little button here in the that I have highlighted in red. And the difference is that in properties mode, what properties mode is, it adds a new markup with the same basic appearance as the saved markup tool, but most of those properties are retained, but the exact dimensions of the tool, the exact text that's in the text box and so on are not saved. Those are things that you enter in when you put the tool in. If you go into drawing mode, which is the little red squiggly line you see there in the bottom graphic, what happens is that tool that you put in is going to match exactly the tool that is in the tool palette, or in the tool set, I should say. So you can flip back and forth between, do I want it to be exactly like this, or do I want it to be somewhat flexible? So that's pretty important, because a lot of times people miss that and they don't realize what's going on with their tool sets and why something isn't working quite the way they want it to, and that's probably the reason. At least that was for me when I started learning it. And then also, along with every other application out there under the sun, we have a Properties tab that allows us to see the properties of the selected markup that we have in the sheet, or we have, with nothing selected, it shows the metadata associated with the PDF itself, who the title and author and all that other stuff does. We also have special kinds of tools available to us. We have a sequence, which is a special kind of tool set feature that increments the text value in the markup each time you place that markup in the file. So if I just go ahead and click on that tool and place those in, it'll number themselves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I delete one, it will renumber the rest of them. And the sequences can be set up to be, they can start at a certain number, they could use a different increment between them, and so on and so forth. So they're very handy for certain operations as you're walking through, say, a punch list, or you want to itemize something in sequence. Along with sequences, we have actions, and actions are mostly associated with hyperlinks, where you essentially assign an action to a markup, where if you click on that markup, it does something. And the something that it can do is either jump to another page in the PDF, it can jump to a different, it can jump to a website, it can jump to another PDF, it can open that other PDF up. It can also jump to something called a place, which is essentially a marked out area in your PDF that you want to go to, say a detail call out, will go right to that detail. And we're going to be using these quite a bit in hyperlinks a little bit later on. The other thing that is very important with what Bluebeam does is that, we're dealing with scaled documents all the time. And so what Bluebeam has is the ability to draw markups at the scale that you are working in for that particular drawing. And you can lay out viewports on your PDF that are set for a particular scale. So in this graphic here, you see I have 3 rectangles laid out at different scales. They are all the same exact size, real world size. They're all 3 foot 9.5 by 2 foot 7, 9.8 square feet. But they're showing differently because they're in a different viewport, and each of the different viewports has their own scale. Okay. And the other thing about viewports that's very important is that viewports need to be calibrated. You need to basically make sure that when you're ticking off something with a dimension markup or a takeoff tool, that the dimension is actually correct, because that's going to affect areas, it's going to affect linear dimensions, everything else. So you need to make sure that you calibrate those viewports, and we're going to go into that in just a second, which is right now. Okay, so let me get back into Bluebeam right now. Okay, and show you a little bit about how some of this works. So let me go into our tool chest here, and you can see I have a series of tool sets here. I have one tool set down here called Match Tools. I have recent tools, My Tools up here. Like I said, you can just go ahead and click on one of these, and you're instantly drawing a highlighter here. If I just go ahead and hit 7, I'm putting in a box like this. And, it's very easy to access these tools and go ahead and put them in. If I go ahead and grab a tool from my toolbar up here, say this call out. So I want to put a call out in right here, and I say, this is a call out, which is very tiny. That tool automatically gets set to my recent tools tool set right here. So if I want to go ahead and put this in again, you see I'm in drawing mode right now. So if I click on this, I'm going to get the exact same thing. But if I click on the tool and go into properties mode, it's back to putting in a call out. Let me go ahead and erase that. Slip of the mouse there. There we go. Ooh, I can't spell today. That's bad. So that's the difference between how we work in drawing mode and in properties mode. And like I said, a lot of these tools that you can download from Bluebeam have AEC-specific, features about them. And like I was saying about sequences, if I look at my sequences and actions here, if I just click on a sequence here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. If I click on this guy right here to delete it, this one now becomes 3. Okay. And as you see that as I'm adding these markups are getting listed down here on our markups list. And right now I'm not showing very many properties in here, not very many columns, but I can expand these columns to show different things like who the author is, what's the status, what's the date, different bits and pieces about this thing. And this is going to become very important too, especially when we get into doing takeoffs. And again, as I click on any of these things, the properties of these things come up over here on the right-hand side, so I can change these properties very easily, change the fill color to, something like that. Well, that would be terrible with it. It's even worse. There we go. That's what I wanted. And if I want to, I can easily just go ahead and add these to my my tool set. Click on it, right-click on it here. Again, right-clicking on everything is going to be your path to success here. So I can easily add it to any of my tool chests that I have here, say my tools. Already this in there. So again, marking things up is again very, very, very easy. Okay. All right, let's see what else. Okay, so let's talk about using the markups list. Okay, the markups list is a wealth of information. There's a ton of stuff down here. It automatically tracks all the markups that you can put into the PDF and the information associated with that markup, such as the author, like I said, the author, the date, responsibility status, comments, and things like that. So by tracking that markup data, it directly allows for the extended AEC functionality, such as punch lists, takeoffs, estimation, so on and so forth. A host of things that you're going to be doing on in your daily work, and all of that is taken care of pretty much with the markups list. And being able to work with the markups list intelligently is going to be one of the main focuses of our talk today. Markup data columns are really how this data is stored. So when you're talking about configuring the markups list, you can be inundated with a dozen or 2 dozen different columns of information. You don't need to see all that information at one time. You can simply go to the Manage Columns button in the toolbar that's in the markups list and disable or enable certain columns. You can add new columns with custom columns. In fact, that's how we work with. That's a very specific thing we need to do for working with takeoff data, so on and so forth. And those custom columns can be different data types, such as text, numbers, check marks, formulas for doing estimation and cost estimation, things like that, and choices, so that you can go ahead and select from a select group of elements that you want to put in for that, for that particular markup data. Again, we're going to look at all in detail later on. So let's go ahead back into review. Let's look at this a little bit more. So if I go ahead and select on, a markup here, it's going to get highlighted down here in the markups list. If I select another one, it goes ahead and actually centers the view on that markup, like this. So you can basically pop around and find all the markups that you have in the file pretty easily. Right now, like I said, there is a subject column here. There's a status column, a check mark, author, data, measurement, and so on. If I go in here and click on my Manage Columns, I can see all the different columns that I want to play with. I also have custom columns here that I can add and modify. So if I wanted to add a custom column here and call it, some sort of descriptive text or something like that, I could do that. There we go. And I have these different data types to choose from, and I can make it, say, a multi-line kind of a thing. And so when I go ahead and add that right here, I can then add it to my list. You can see it's down here. So there it is right there. So for any column or for any markup that I have, say this markup right here, I can go ahead in here and say, you know, this is some markup, which can be used later on for some, you know, some other purpose. So being able to add your own columns to the markups list is going to be very important. Now, every markup has this thing called a subject, and if you look over here, if I have this markup selected right here on the right-hand side, there's a selection here that says call out, okay, which is the default that happens when you put this particular markup in. This does not have to say call out. It can say anything it wants to. Bluebeam will organize these things by subject by default, so I'll have all my ones called call out here, circle here, and this, that, and the other. But if I just call this, you know, something else like, you know, new, something like that, you know, I'm going to see a new one down here. So what's nice about this is we'll see when we get into quantity takeoff that this is going to be a very important aspect of this. And then also with, you know, with all of these, you have, you know, the control over the appearance, both the lines and the text down here. Different, you can see the custom field that we put in here with this descriptive text. We have some layout options here and so on and so forth. And then we also have tools down here. We can say we can add that to my tools and so on and so forth. And so it's easy, very easy to work with the markups list as it is down here. We can also, at the end of the day, export out our markups list as a summary in any of these typical formats: XML, CSV, PDF, obviously, print it, and so on and so forth. So when you're working, especially with the estimating side of things, you know, pumping everything out to a report is going to be very, very important. Okay, so 3D PDFs. What is a 3D PDF and what does it look like and what can you do? It's actually really neat. PDF creation, 3D PDF creation is available in AutoCAD Architecture, and MEP 2017, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Outlook, Revit 2014, 2015, and 2016. As far as I know, there is no add-in yet for Revit 2017. I expect that to be coming sometime soon, and also SketchUp 2016 as well. And what you can do is use the Bluebeam Administrator, which is a program that gets installed with Bluebeam, to control what plugins you have available, as well as setting up things like your Bluebeam printer and setting up AutoCAD page sizes and so on and so forth. So the Bluebeam Administrator is basically that. You know, it really takes control of the application and can be used for a lot of different things. But creating a 3D PDF in Revit actually is really easy because you have an add-ins tab that gets a new Bluebeam panel, and that Bluebeam panel has a 3D PDF button. All you have to do is hit Create 3D PDF from a 3D view, and you've got a 3D PDF. Very easy to work with. We also have, when you look at a 3D PDF in Bluebeam Revu, you're given a nice little 3D environment to work in with a little hover bar at the top that has controls for things like spinning the model around, showing it in different lighting conditions, wireframe, solid, you know, kind of cartoony looking graphics. You can also section the model. You can do, you can move little bits and pieces around. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. So as you can see here, I've just got a simple, you know, standard out of the box sample project that I did a 3D print of, and you can see it's very easy to do a section through this and see it, and you can select on elements and actually see in the model tree that you would see in Bluebeam of the entire Revit database, and you can see all the elements that are in the file. The sections themselves, you can have a section box or a section plane. You can maneuver the section plane and box around any way you want to, rotate it, align it with a view, things like that. Selecting elements is very simple. You can select the element, you can actually physically move it using the gizmo that you see down at the bottom left-hand side. You can just go ahead and select on one of those axes and it will move along that axis. You can rotate along those axes as well. It's very simple to use, but you can, what's nice about it is you can pull your model apart in a PDF, which means you're not harming the actual model itself, right? So you can pull the pieces apart, you can see what's going on behind the scenes, and do a quality control check very easily. So let's go ahead and look at this. I'm going to pop into Revit. There we go. And here's our old friend, the advanced sample project that we have here. Now let's go ahead and make a 3D PDF of this. So I'm in a 3D view here, and you have to be in a 3D orthographic view. I don't think it works from a camera view. I go into, say, this view right here. You'll see that the add-ins Bluebeam tab is disabled, which means Revit says no. So I'm going to go into a regular 3D view here, go into here, look at my 3D PDF settings here, and I can go ahead and create a 3D PDF. Just go ahead and check that box, and I'll put it into my folder here. Put one right here, and you can see it's lightning fast. And it should come up with a PDF here somewhere. Just say no. I'll save this. Yeah, do that. Well, maybe not lightning fast, but it's fast enough. It should pop up fairly soon. See what it looks like. Go into my. Look at this. And here's the sample project. We'll just look at this real quick. Go ahead and bring this down, sort of get these out of the way. And you see that in this I can go ahead and maneuver around this 3D PDF very well, very easily. One thing I'll do here is I'll go into a spin mode here, so it basically keeps it without, won't turn it onto its side. And I can also go ahead and change the graphics, looking at it in different ways. Kind of a shaded illustration right here. Look at different lighting conditions as well. Change the background color if I wanted to. And then I can use this button here for sections, for the cross section. So if I look at the cross-section properties over here, just by clicking on that button here, you can see that it's right now it's aligned with the Z-plane, which means it's cutting through here. But I can go ahead and click on that plane and go ahead and click on that little blue arrow and push this up and down, so I can section right through the building instantly. Or I could go ahead and align it with a different plane, say my X plane or my Y plane. Let's go ahead and align it with Y, and let's go ahead and rotate this 180 degrees in the Z direction, so I get this. And now I can go ahead and just go ahead and push this in. Oh, here we go. Yeah, let's get back into this. Yeah, apparently that was a fairly big model. Let's reset this. There we go. And if you get lost, one of the nice features of this is we have a list of views right here. So if I want to, I can go back into my ISO view, which was the view that the kind of a home view here. You can see where I have the section right here, and I can go ahead again. I can move this back and forth as I need to see something. And if I hit the escape key, I'll deselect it. But if I look at the options for this, I can say, you know what, I want the intersection lines to be black. I'll cap those off, so on and so forth. So it looks a little bit more presentable there. And then what I can also do too is if I select, say, this door right here, I can come up here to the transform tool, and now that gives me a gizmo that I can look at right here, and I can move this around as much as I need to. So I can start pulling bits and pieces of this model apart to see what's going on. There's my wall, there's my door frame, so on and so forth. So 3D PDFs are really, really neat. You can do a lot with them. If I go back to, let me get out of this because it's apparently a little bit too big. One of the things you can do, though, if I get back into Revit, I won't do this because I don't know how long it's going to take, but you can create what's known as a U3D file. And a U3D file is basically a 3D file that then you can put into another PDF. So if I created a UD3 file from this, then what I could do is back in Bluebeam, let me go back and start a new PDF from scratch here. With this new PDF, what I could then do is go to, say, the 3D editor button right here, and then mark out an area right here, and then load in that UD3 file, and then your 3D view would come into that pane right there. I'm not going to do it because I don't have it ready for mass consumption right now. I don't know how long it's going to take to create. So, but that's essentially how you can get a 3D PDF into an existing PDF document, like an RFI or something like that. All right, let's look at hyperlinking. Those things that Bluebeam does pretty well. You're going to want to go ahead and make places for these different details and things that you have, so that when you link to them, you're not seeing just the sheet, you're going to the exact location on the sheet that you want to go to. Along with that, we can batch link. What batch linking does is Bluebeam has a feature that allows you to select a region in the sheet, say around the title block, the sheet number, the sheet name, and what it'll do is it'll read that information and then use that as a search tool, so that anytime it sees, say, A.1 in a callout, it will automatically create a hyperlink at that location, so that when you go ahead and click on that callout, it takes you to A.1 or A.2 or A. whatever. And batch linking allows you to do this across, multiple sheets in your file or across multiple files at the same time. So you can instantly basically get a nice index of your drawings that are automatically all linked to each of the sheets. Your callouts can automatically take you to the sheet that it needs to go to with very little problem. So let's go ahead and look at that. Let me go back into Bluebeam here, and let me go ahead and open a file that I know I want to look at here. So let's look at this one. There we go. All right, so this is essentially the same, advanced project that we were looking at. And what I can do here is I can go ahead and look at the. Let me look at the thumbnails here for a second. So you see, the thumbnails are just 1, 2, 3, 4. This 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the page labels that we work with, and Bluebeam can work with page labels just as well as it can with the area down here that has the title. So if I come up here to my file and I go to batch, well, actually, let me go ahead and make a hyperlink. Let me just show you how that is done. I'm going to go to the links tab right here, and I'm going to go ahead and make a hyperlink right here. So I'm going to go ahead and create the hyperlink command. And you get a little square right here. I'll just do a square right here. I've already got a hyperlink in there right now. What I can do here is I'm going to jump to page, in this case, page 2, which is A.2 here. If I go ahead and do that, I've just created a hyperlink. And if I go ahead and click on it, I'm taken to A.2. Okay. So that's fine and dandy, but that's a lot of work. So what the hyperlink tool allows us to do, or the batch hyperlink tool allows us to do, is go ahead and create hyperlinks pretty quickly. Let me go ahead and just delete all these hyperlinks right here. So we'll start from scratch, more or less. Okay, so let me go back to my first page right here. All right, so I'm going to go into batch hyperlinking. So I'm going to go batch and then link under the file menu, new, and I'll go ahead and add my open files, which is this file right here. I can also add other files. I can add whole entire folders as well and have it process subfolders. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. And right now I can go ahead and use the file name as a search term, a page region, which is this area down here, or a page label, which is what we saw there in the bookmarks tab. I'm going to go ahead and use a page region. I'm going to go ahead and just window around right there. And I'll just leave it here as region 1, and I'll say OK. And you can see here that the scan result was returning A.1 here. I'll go ahead and hit generate, and I see that it generated these search terms, okay? And it's going to take you to these destinations. So if I go ahead, after I've generated my search terms here, I can come down here and hit run. And what it'll do is it'll run through the drawing or run through all the sheets and find these terms. And when it finds it, it will put a hyperlink on them. So you can see where it made 8 hyperlinks. Go ahead and say finish and close. And you can see here where there's my hyperlink to 8.2. Here's my hyperlink to 8.4. Okay, and so on and so forth. Now, sometimes it doesn't pick up everything, right? So it's not picking up. I didn't get a hyperlink here. So what we can do here is we can create one basically from scratch. But what I'd like to do with, say, with this one right here is if I click on this, I don't want to go to the entire, wall section or the entire sheet. I want to go to this detail right here. And so this detail is really what we call a place. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make a new place here. I'm going to call this 4 over A.4. I'll call this parapet detail. And I'm going to go ahead and use a snapshot view, and I'll use this create rectangle. And I'm going to just go ahead and let me go ahead and do that again. Drag out a rectangle right here. Hit OK. And now I've got this place right here. Now, if I go back over to here and create a hyperlink right here, let's create a hyperlink right like this, and I'll set that to that place. Hit OK. And now what should happen is if I go ahead and click on this, I'm taken right to there. So you can use this functionality to basically make your detail callouts go from place to place to place. So I can go from here to this wall section, to this parapet detail, to this termination detail right here. Okay. So batch linking and batch or hyperlinking and batch linking are both two very, very important features. But if you need to get into a specific area, that's when you have to go and attack this problem kind of by hand. It doesn't take very long, but on a large set of documents, it can certainly chew up a little bit of time. All right, let's get back into PowerPoint here. Okay, we want to compare and overlay some documents. What we can do here is the Compare Documents tool allows you to essentially take two PDFs that are very similar, say just one revision apart, and using the Compare Documents tool, you can find very easily what's different between them. It will build essentially a third PDF, and it will dim out everything that's the same and put the cloud around the areas that are different. And it's very easy to see what's happening with that, like that. Along with batch hyperlinking, we have a batch compare tool as well. So what we can do is take several different files and put them together and find the common things that are between each sheet in that multi-sheet PDF, or between multiple sheets. It'll match the sheets up and then tell you what is the same and what is different between the two sheets or the multiple sheets that you're working with. Overlaying is similar to batch or compare sheets, but what it does is it overlays the documents. And what's nice about this is you can overlay more than one or more than two documents. Say I've got 3 documents here. Each one of those is going to get a color code. So A is green, B is blue, C is red, and you can see exactly what's in each one. So anything that's of this pink color is the same, and then you can see where the blue pops out, the green pops out, and those are specific to those documents. And then also with batch compare, you have batch overlay. So again, you can go ahead and compare the two documents together. It does a match between the two, so you can see exactly what's going on there. I'm going to go ahead and skip that demo right now. I want to get into Takeoffs because I only have a few minutes left here. So with Takeoffs, what we're doing here is we're working, most of the time, we have to work with specific viewports, or at least scale the entire sheet that we know that we're working with to a particular scale. And so we're going to do that using the Calibrate tool. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But it's very important that you do that because otherwise all your measurements are going to be off. If you just tell it that's 1.5 inches equals 12, say for inch and a half equals a foot, that's what the detail might say, but the entire sheet might not exactly be at that scale. So you might get calibration issues with that. So the first thing you want to do here, there are actually 3 things you want to do. You want to set up a material. So if we're going to be doing things like taking off doors and windows and flooring areas and toilet fixtures and things like that, what we need to do is come up with a catalog of sorts of what are the things that we're going to be taking off. And we can do that with a new custom column that is of a choice type, which means that we can enter in all of these different pieces of information. And with that say that interior door, what we can do is we can make a new choice that's called interior door. We can give it a price of $150 or $180, whatever it is. And then each time that door is counted off, it is going to put that number into the measurement. And then we have that as, as if it's, a door that's being counted off, or it's an area of flooring that's, $4 a square foot or whatever, we can multiply that against the square footage measurement and come up with our actual subtotal. So the subtotal is really a formula that's the material multiplied by the measurement. So it's very, actually very simple to get up and running, but it's, once you get it set up, it's actually very, very easy to work with. So as your materials are defined, you can create these area takeoffs by tracing the room boundaries. You want to make sure that you have the snap set to the content, so it actually snaps to the endpoints of the lines of the walls. Very easy to go ahead and trace that around. It'll give you an accurate takeoff of the carpet or the flooring in this particular case. And then once you assign that to a flooring subject, like we talked about subjects before, it now knows that it has these different types of flooring that it can choose from. You select carpet or hardwood or whatever. It comes up with a price per square foot, as it times the measurement, and you've got a subtotal. And then what happens is the markups list keeps a running total of all of all the markups. You can also do complex area takeoffs as well. When you're doing your layouts with your markup tools, you can change a line to an arc and back again, so that you can do complex takeoffs like this. And you can also use the cutout tool to remove areas. So if I want to put in a different carpet, say where these workstations are, I can cut that out from my overall square footage that I want to use for carpet type A or whatever, and I'm going to get an accurate number. Okay. We can also do a visual search, and that is a feature that, as far as I know, is specific to Bluebeam. But what that does is allows you to define in your drawing, in your PDF, a graphic that you want to search for. And what it'll do is it'll go around and find all the instances of that sink, and it'll make a pretty accurate count of all the sinks that you have in the file. Now, if it comes across something where there's a column grid line or a call-out bubble or something like that that's over the top of the sink, the graphic might not read, so you'd have to go back in and do some more specific takeoffs, piece by piece. But the point is that you can probably get a good 60 to 80% of what you need right off the bat just by going ahead and hitting using the visual search tools. And then what you can do with the results is that you can turn the results of that visual search into a count measurement. And so that now becomes, a listing of all the sinks that I have in my project, or all the toilets or whatever. And so what you can do is you work through this. You can go ahead and make these different count measurements. So you see here where I'm basically counting off all the plumbing fixtures in the model. And with each of those measurements, I'm using a different symbol. So all of my tubs are triangles, all of my toilets are circles, all of my showers are squares, sinks are diamonds, so on and so forth. So I can easily identify what each of those are. And as I go through the process of making the count, you can see where the totals will all add up at the bottom here, because the measurement is saying I've got 38 sinks, I've got 36 sinks, 36 toilets, 36 tubs, so on and so forth, multiplied by that number that we put in for that material definition, and we're getting our total right there. So, and as we create these counts, we just go ahead and put all this information in, like I said before, and if we need to add to the count, we can simply right-click on one of those measurements and say, keep numbering, and we can just go ahead and pick, and we can just go ahead and tick off all those things or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and leave that out for right now, because we're going to see this in Legends. So Legends would allow what Legends allow us to do is essentially condense that markup data into a table and place that table on a sheet. So when the underlying data is altered, say we add some new fixtures to something, or we do some different takeoffs of floor area, those legends that report that information will automatically update. And so for AEC, we have basically two things. We're basically doing a legend for takeoff, or we're doing for a punch list. And so if we're doing a legend for takeoff, like we're doing here, where we're just picking things off, you can see that I have a legend above here that shows the symbol, and it shows the count so on and so forth here. If I'm doing one for a punch list, if I walked around this and I found some electrical issues, found a door issue, found a carpet issue, and so on and so forth, I punch those things out with a punch list tool here, and then when I add these things to the legend, to the punch list items, you can see that I have the comments, I have the count of where these things are, so it gives me a pretty easy running total of where the project is at that particular point in time. All right, the last thing I need to talk about, because I am desperately out of time here, is Bluebeam Studio. And Bluebeam Studio is essentially the collaboration solution that Bluebeam has come up with for working with documents online. And this is incredibly important. It's a fantastic feature in Bluebeam Studio because it's available in every single release of Bluebeam. It doesn't matter what version you get, Review Standard, Review CAD, Review Extreme, you still get all the functionality in Bluebeam Studio. And it's tightly integrated into the program. It's freely available. You don't have to pay anything extra to share your documents in the cloud. In fact, and it makes it a really compelling alternative to some of the other ones that we have out there. Now, Bluebeam Studio is comprised of two things. There's Bluebeam Studio Sessions and Studio Projects. And essentially, it's two ways of working with your PDFs online. So what Studio Sessions is essentially a way of posting documents to the cloud and having other people work on those documents at the same time. It's all synchronous or asynchronous, depending on where you are. But essentially, you can add markups, other people can add markups, and you see those markups being added by other people in real time. And the important point about this is that it retains the integrity of the markup authorship. You're not telling somebody else to mark something up and hoping they get it right. You're marking it up and they see it. And your markup has your name attached to it, their markup has their name attached to it, so that integrity is held steady. Up to 500 users can join a single studio session, so 500 people marking up the same PDFs all at the same time. Each user can upload 100 files, up to 100 megabytes each, so you get a lot of storage space that you can play with. It records the actions taken by all the participants of the team that's working on it, and it supports it only supports 2D and 3D PDF files only. Okay, so that's Studio Sessions. Studio Projects, on the other hand, is really a secure document management system that tracks the actual document versions as it goes through changes, while still offering the mobility. It also offers unlimited storage. You can park as much stuff as you want up there as you can. You can park any kind of file that you want to, as well. You can park entire Revit files up there if you want to. So if you're looking for an easy, low-cost, zero-cost way of getting a Revit file to somebody, and you don't have an FTP site or whatever, Bluebeam Studio Projects will do it for you, and it will keep it secure. Now, the thing about this is that as you're working in projects, you're basically downloading files, checking files out. As those files are checked out, nobody else can work on them. They have to wait for you to finish what you're doing and check it back in. But those files can be of any size, and a studio project can host an unlimited number of participants. So between Studio Projects and Studio Sessions, you have a completely free but very well thought out, very robust set of tools available to you that you can share data with everybody else wherever at any time. The only thing you have to do with to get access to this is basically you sign up for a free Studio account, and you get you're prompted to do this whenever you first fire up the software after you install it. Once you're online, you can start a new session, you can start a new project, you can switch between the project. It doesn't really matter. You have complete control over how you can do those things. It's very easy to do. Thanks, everyone.